And this is really what I wanted to, the point I wanted to come to today, is that a lot of us here have had experiences of grace or connection, an experience of the holy. And whatever was present in that moment is right here now. And actually, every single moment of this life, we are always in the presence of the holy. We're always in the presence of the sacred. As much as we make that shift inside from our thoughts and our concerns to the expanse and the grace and the support that's here. I wanted to share one other story from my life. When I was about 19, I was living in Santa Cruz and I took a job working for an environmental organization. And you got paid on commission. And you went around from door to door. It was good work. It was related to Ralph Nader's work. And they were doing a lot of wonderful things, but basically you'd go and knock on people's door and you had your wrap, you'd give them, and you'd try to get them to donate. So by the third day, I still hadn't hit my quota, so I wasn't getting paid. And as you can imagine, I was frustrated. Also, it's a little discouraging, knocking on people's door after door and having people say they don't want to talk to you, or going through your whole wrap and not having any support there. So I think I had raised to like $80, and I needed $100 to get the quota, so then I would get some payment. And so I went and talked to the guy who was the manager. And I said, yeah, I can't do this. I give up. It's not working. And he said, well, let's try it. Show me what you do. So we went and sat down together. He said, well, give me your rap. Give me your talk. So I went through it. Hi, my name's blah, blah, blah. And we listened for a few minutes. And he nodded and he said, sounds good. And he said, well, who do I make the check out to? And so I said, CalPERG or whatever. And so we pulled the check out, pulled his checkbook out and started writing it. And he wrote the check, and he wrote it for the amount to take me over my quota so I get paid. And maybe they had some discretionary money to do that. I don't know. But in that moment, all I could see was that he was giving his money right out of his pocket. Just this act of kindness. And it was all I could do to just not start weeping. And I was 19. I did not cry when I was 19. I was not interested in any open heart stuff, that's for sure. Whatever that was. And it took me a while to I had to put the walls back up as fast as I could. I was just like in this swirl of emotion, like couldn't even talk for a second. But that's the power of kindness. To pierce through all the hardness and all the tension, all the traumas of this life. Just a simple act of kindness does so much. Yeah, there are a few things I know in my life that stand out like that, where it didn't seem like that big a deal, but brought tears to my eyes. So I know that something good is happening. If that happens, I don't have a problem. I feel like anytime something wants to flow out, it's washing away the old, washing away something that's not necessary. A friend of mine said there's a saying in the Native American tradition that power should not be given to men who don't cry. And women that don't cry too. So I wanted to also talk a little bit about some mystics. I personally, the mystics are some of my favorites, just because to me they show us what's possible as human beings. You know, I was raised in the Bay Area for the most part, and watched a lot of Happy Days of reruns and ate a lot of Lucky Charms. And, wasn't connected to some kind of timeless wisdom. My mom was actually quite cosmic. She would read me books like Jonathan Livingston Seagull or Illusions. I've heard those books. I loved those, just hearing those stories. But there was no real life. It seemed like, wow, that's some fantasy thing. But then to grow up and really start studying about people, the mystics that have lived in all times and places, this is reality. And that's what's possible for us. So one of the mystics that's my personal favorite is Peace Pilgrim. Anybody here heard of Peace Pilgrim? So for anybody who hasn't heard of her, she's a woman, she's an American woman. In 1953, she started her first pilgrimage, and she walked across the country with a message for peace. And her message was, overcome evil with good, falseness with truth, and hatred with love. And so she walked across the country just sharing this message, which is beautiful. But the way she did it is quite unique. She said, I will walk until I'm given shelter, and I will fast until I'm given food. And she carried, I think she had a toothbrush in her pocket here, and she had a comb. That was it. She walked. It said Peace Pilgrim on the front. And so she made her pilgrimage across the country, and she never stopped. It went so well, and she felt like that was what she was supposed to do for life. She kept walking, I think about 20 times across the country. She walked up into Canada, walked down into Mexico. And so even that's great, but that's still not what I think is amazing about her. She said, my hair had already turned silver when I started my pilgrimage. I haven't had a cold or a headache or even a bad mood since. And she left her body in 1983. It's what she called the glorious transition to the next phase. She said, I live in a constant state of connection with the source of all that is. And when I read that, I mean, what could be a more reasonable goal for a human life? To have that place of connection. And that we all do have that. That's the potential for us. That is the potential of the human birth. That we can align